So maybe you showed up this morning, kind of excited, walked on in, grabbed the handout, made your way over to a beige-colored comfy chair, sat down, opened up that handout, and you're kind of eager to see, all right, what are we talking about today? I got to see what the title is of the sermon. You open the handout and it says, Making Change, Discontent with Debt. I don't want to talk about money. The sermon's on money today? Debt? This is probably what you wanted to do. Some people is crumple it up and just kick it. Because I'm sure many just want to walk in and say, isn't the sermon on I can do all things through Christ? Like, that's what I want to do today. That's what I want to hear. And I tell you, that story of wanting to crumple up the notes was me about 11 or 12 years ago. I remember sitting in a church, and I remember the pastor getting up, and as soon as I could tell it was going to be about money, I had kind of this bristle and this kind of body language. Don't tell me what to do with my money. You don't know how much money I make or what I'm going through, the bills that I have to pay. And so I urge you this morning to take a deep breath, to not cry out, come on, I could be watching the pregame football shows right now, and instead we're talking about money. So just take a deep breath and walk with us as I have seen and grown to the point where I actually look forward to it when a church or when a pastor has the courage to teach on money. It consumes our minds so much of the time, and I have found so much freedom in resting in God's provision and not my own. And so I'm excited to talk about this today. This morning we are going to show you God's word. And on some level, we are all going to wrestle with this today. And that's okay. Let's be clear. As we talk about debt today, we are not talking about medical debt. There are times in life where unforeseen circumstances pop up and medical debt starts to mount. That's not the type of debt that we are talking about today. The main amount of debt that we are focusing on today is debt accrued by discontentment, living within your means. The Bible does not expressly forbid nor condone the borrowing of money. The wisdom of the Bible teaches us that it is usually not a good idea to go into debt by choice. Debt essentially makes us a slave to the one who provides the loan. We'll see a specific verse on that a little bit later. At the same time, in some situations, going into debt is a necessary evil. So the debt that we're not talking about today is not medical debt. We're also not talking about debt from a mortgage, from a house. If we all had to wait until we had all of the money in order to buy a house, very few people in here would have a house. Almost everybody would be paying rent. When it comes to a mortgage on a house, that is actually a better investment because if it is purchased at a correct amount, you are able to sell it at some point in time and get that money back. Whereas if you are paying rent, you are waving goodbye to every single dollar that you stick on that rent check. So we're not talking about debt from medical debt today, and we're not talking about a mortgage on a house. Mainly, we're talking about debt accrued from being discontent. Primary example in our country, in the United States, credit card debt averages, just the average, is around $16,000 per household. Just sitting on a credit card. That the monthly bill comes in, and that's the average credit card debt in our country. And yet, I would say our culture as a whole is still discontent. We still don't feel like we have enough. So as we work through things today, maybe these are some questions that you ask yourself. And let's simmer. Man, is my debt due to a lack of discipline or an unwillingness to delay gratification? Is my debt due to maybe an unwillingness to accept the lifestyle that my current salary is able to support? Avoiding or eliminating debt begins with surrender. That's where we start. This life isn't primarily about us and what we get out of it. We really talked about that a lot last Sunday. God is using us to shed his light to the world that we interact with. So this morning, you need to write this down. Debt is not a money problem. Debt is a contentment problem. You don't get it, Adam. If I just got a raise, then I wouldn't be in debt. Then I could pay off all those bills, and then I'd be good to go. But Adam, if the stock market went up, then I could cash in, pull that out, and then I could pay off that debt. If that happened, it's just really a money problem. That's why I'm in debt. Debt is not a money problem. Debt is a contentment problem. We see a definition in dictionary.com that says contentment, this word that we don't use a whole lot, is a state of happiness and satisfaction. But I would add another layer onto that to give more of a firm biblical definition of contentment. And if you enjoy math or you have a brain that likes equations, this one's for you. Contentment is thankfulness, gratitude for what we do have, being thankful for the things that God has given us. Add to that, peace with my circumstances. Peace with the season of life that I'm in. Peace with maybe the hand I've been dealt in this broken world. Those two things, add those together, that equals contentment. Thankfulness plus peace with my circumstances, that is contentment. So today we're going to be sitting in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 6 through 10. On the blue Bibles on the seatback chair in front of you, we will be on page 577. I would love for you to open up a copy of God's Word so you can see that I'm not making this up this morning. Let's read it together out loud. Here it says like this, 1 Timothy 6 through 10. But godliness with contentment is great gain, for we brought nothing into the world, and we cannot take anything out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evils. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs. Whew. That's some vivid imagery right there. My high school English teacher would have given that an A+, because you can clearly see that word picture come to mind. In verse 6 there at the beginning, he's talking about, man, what is a great gain in this life? And if you ever work out at the gym, there's always guys that are standing by the mirror doing the biceps, checking out the buys. They're like, this is for the ladies. They're trying to get some great gains. They're trying to get swole. Man, if you want great gains in this life, you put godliness, the pursuit of holiness, the pursuit of things that would honor God, that God would applaud in your life. You put godliness together with contentment. That's some great gains in your life. Verse 7, we see that material gain in this world is pretty much irrelevant. That greed is actually irrational. We brought nothing into this world. Whatever, man, I brought my hunting rifle with me into this world. You can bury me with it too, taking it out. We brought nothing into this world. And we're going to take nothing out of this world. That greed is actually irrational. Material gain is irrelevant. When he's talking about here in food and clothing, this is a symbol of life's necessities that God will provide. And with these things, we can be content. In verse 9, this temptation of greedily desiring more than we need, this desire to be rich, is a trap. It's a snare. And just know off the bat, being rich, that is not a sin. There are lots of rich people in the Bible that have done magnificent things by God. And God applauds them for that. Being rich is not a sin. Desiring to be wealthy to the point where it drives every thought, every decision you make in your life, That's a trap. That leads to, and listen to this dramatic language, ruin and destruction. Who wants to sign up for that? Desire to be rich, leading to ruin and destruction. Paul is not mincing words here in this passage. What's the last of the 10 commandments? The 10th one, what is it? Do not covet. Right over here. You got it. And what is that word covet? We don't use that word too much. It's a yearning to have something. I just got to have it. I got to have that thing, whatever that is, that car, that bike, that toy. I got to have it. Do not covet. This is the birthplace of so many sins in our lives. This envy that I got to have more, and I don't have enough. That what God has given me doesn't feel like enough. Verse 10, we see that money itself, those green pieces of paper in your purse or in your wallet, those little green pieces of paper in and of themselves, not evil. People's love of money, that is the root of all kinds of evil. And listen to the more dramatic and intensely painful language here. This craving, this desire to be rich, this craving has caused people to pierce themselves, stabbed ourselves with many sorrows. That's what the desire to be rich leads to. Self-inflicted wounds. How embarrassing is it when you have to admit to a self-inflicted wound? Like, that's not fun. You walk around with a black eye and you know somebody's going to ask you, how'd you get that black eye? You should see the other guy. And then you have to answer, well, I actually walked into a pole. So you don't have a cool story behind that black eye? No, it was a self-inflicted wound. Man, when we have the desire to be rich, we are going to be putting wounds into ourselves that we can easily avoid, stabbing ourselves with many sorrows. So ask yourself, deep question, and this one will be in the sermon study for those that are in missional communities with the sermon study this week. Deep question for you. Do I feel like God is treating me the way I deserve? Do I feel like God is treating me the way I deserve? God, what you have given me is not enough. God, you have wronged me. I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I deserve a fancier car, God, and you haven't seemed to plop that into my driveway thus far. I deserve to pour money into my hobbies. I deserve to keep up with the Joneses and keep up with what my buddies are buying. They're not following you, God. I am following you, and yet you seem to be giving them more. Do I feel like God is treating me the way I deserve? I was listening to the radio this week. Yes, there's still radio stations out there. And there was an advertisement on there, and it was for a simple little granola bar. Small little thing, small purchase. And this was the quote. This was the sales pitch. So good. This is an indulgent snack you deserve in your day. Our culture brainwashes us to things we think we deserve in our life. I'm sitting there listening like, you know what? I do deserve an indulgent snack in my day. Probably right about now. I do deserve a granola bar. And our culture tells us you deserve more. You deserve this. You deserve fill in the blank brand of clothing so you can sit at the cool table. You deserve. Contentment remembers God's gracious gifts. It's a glass half full, not half empty approach to life. That we remember what God has given us and not complain or grumble about this portion that maybe we think we should have. And this is something that my soul wars over in life, is trying to remember that I need to Be content with what I have. Remember what God has given me and not long for everything else that I see out in the world. And so I put a reminder in ink on my body. This is a tattoo on the left side of my left leg on the inside ankle. And yes, I do have hairy legs, gift from the Lord. But this is a tattoo that is a glass half full. I got this tattoo on the 1-year anniversary that I truly started pursuing Christ in my life. Filled it with the blood of Christ so that I could remember, man, don't look at it as half empty, Adam. Remember what God has done. Remember what Jesus willingly did on the cross for you. Contentment, glass half full. Remember God's gracious gifts. An important fruit of the Spirit that we talked about pretty much all summer long in the book of Titus was self-control. And when it comes to debt, lack of control can oftentimes lead us into debt. We have this sermon club that we do, me and a couple of the pastors on staff, in advance of these teachings so that we can put more than just one head together. And we were talking about this upcoming sermon, and one of the guys laughed about this quote that he often hears is when people say, I need to have a reliable car. And what happens after they say, I need to have a reliable car? $30,000 truck shows up, $500 a month car payment on that truck. Pretty sure you passed reliable about $25,000 ago. But that's what we think and say to ourselves. I need to have something reliable, so I better go into major debt and buy something way outside of my means. I need to have luxury on top of my reliable car. Self-control is a part of this process, is a part of this equation, as well as wisdom and discernment. Wisdom to know how to make right choices. Financially, does this make sense for my lifestyle, for my current income? Anybody in here ever watch HGTV? Few hands? Yeah, I know. Don't be ashamed. I watch it too with my wife. They have a show called House Hunters sometimes, and they're shopping for houses. And what do they always do at the beginning? They state what their budget is, right? So for example, married couple, our budget is $250,000. Realtor takes them to their first home. Home is $249,999. And they see like, doesn't really have this, or this master suite isn't what I wish it was. And so there's some things that they kind of like and some things that they don't like. And then the realtor takes them to the next house, right? House number 2. But this one, instead of $249,000, a little bit outside of their budget, $275,000 house. And they walk in there, mind blown. I can get all of this for only $25,000 more? And the majority of the time, what do people do on those shows? They go outside of their budget because I gotta have it. Man, when I see that shiny thing, stainless steel appliances, I gotta have it so I can impress people when they come over. And so often people go outside of their budget, outside of their comfort zone when it comes to their finances, making poor decisions, unwise decisions for what their lifestyle can currently support. Mark P. said it last week. We will be held accountable for how we spent our money. And that's a sobering thought. That should make you slow down. Maybe one of your takeaways today is to just slow down our thinking when it comes to spending our money. Slowing down. Maybe praying about it. Talking to God about a future financial decision, a future purchase. Talking to your spouse. Asking for counsel from a trusted friend. And the big jargon in our culture is it was an impulse buy. I just walked by it, had to have it. What's the classic thing that I always hear? People go to Target with a list of 2 things and then they walk out with 12 things because I had to have it. It was just, I saw it. It was an impulse buy. Slow down. Slow down your purchasing. Slow down your thought process. And it's easy. It's hard on Amazon because you just add to cart, ship, boom, shows up. Slow down. Slow down when it comes to your purchasing. That will help you make wise decisions. Our culture has swung so far into instant gratification. It's pretty amazing. I mean, just a decade ago, there's like 4 or 5 day shipping. Like we could order something online and it would show up by the end of the week. Like that was pretty cool. And then we moved into 2-day shipping, and I can purchase something and it shows up in 2 days. And now there's overnight, next day shipping. And if we don't get it in the next day, we're upset. Where's my 36 rolls of toilet paper? That should have been here yesterday. I can't wait 2 days for that. Man, our culture, gotta have it. Gotta have it now. Slow down. Run from the impulse for instant gratification. I mean, just think of how we eat and how that has changed over the decades and centuries, from how we used to have to actually go outside and grow crops and wait for food to grow before we could harvest it, or go actually find a meal running wild, to making dinner at home, to actually thinking in advance, going to the grocery store, buying the things that I want to make for dinner on Tuesday night, chopping up those things, putting them in a dish, sticking it in an oven, and then 45 minutes later, then I get to eat. To what do most of us do today in our culture? I want dinner cooked already by somebody else, and I want it delivered to me at my house. Uber Eats, DoorDash. Oh, and hey, delivery man, while you're here, I'm just going to sit on the couch. If you could shovel it in my mouth, that'd be the next step. Because I don't even want to do that. Like, that's how far our culture has swung into instant gratification. I don't want to wait. I got to have it now. One way to avoid regretting an impulse buy, I'll just share this little marriage rule in our house. When it comes to me and my wife, Shannon, anytime we make a single item purchase that is greater than $50, we talk about it in advance with one another. Anything that's outside of groceries or anything that is out of the norm, but any one item purchase that's greater than $50, we can ask each other, do you think we have the bandwidth for this right now? Do you think this purchase makes sense? I've heard about many marriages where one spouse will come back. Let's say it's the wife comes back home and walks into a situation where the husband bought a boat, and all of a sudden there's a boat sitting in the front yard. And the wife's saying, honey, where'd that come from? Had to have a boat. I know there's not many lakes in Montana, but I just had to have it. And there's no communication. And people get blindsided, and feelings get hurt because purchasing is very impulse-driven. There's no thought process. Slow down when it comes to your purchases. When we grow in our contentment, we realize, man, in life, I may be forced to forego some preferences or hobbies at times. And that, for some of us, is a tough pill to swallow, a tough truth to swallow in our lives. Philippians 4:19 reads like this, "And my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus." Some might be saying, I'm pretty sure it used to say, God will supply every want of yours. Did that get lost in translation? God wants me to be happy, right? It's not in there. God will supply every need, not every want, every toy, every desire, everything that you want in your life. But those things that you need, God will provide. If you just trust, God will provide. But you don't get it, Adam. I need air-conditioned seats. Summers in Montana are brutal, all 5 weeks of them, so hot. I need my keister to be cooled. I need air-conditioned seats. Our wants versus God's wants for us. Things that we actually need in life versus, these are some things that I kind of want, but I can probably live without. There's a common misconception when it comes to needs and wants that debt is an exercise in faith. Some people might sell it like that. Well, I'm taking out a loan because God said he would provide, and so I'm actually trusting that he's going to provide to pay for this loan. I'll let you know right now, God does not need a lender to cover your expenses. God does not need a lender to meet our needs. Debt is not an exercise in faith. Proverbs 22:7 reads like this: "The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender." And know this, when you borrow, you may be denying God an opportunity to provide. By taking matters into your own hands, you may be denying God an opportunity to provide. If you can just have the self-control to wait, God may significantly grow you as well as your faith. Another misconception: I have this credit card debt, and this debt, it's really not that big a deal. It's just some numbers on a piece of paper that I get like on a month-to-month basis. Debt has no consequence, right? Wrong. Debt is not a cuddly pet. It is a big deal. Debt cripples your ability to be generous. Debt cripples your ability to be generous. When you are hobbling around because you're lugging along this big weight of debt, it is going to be very difficult in your life to be generous. And so we need to attack debt, pay off debt, run from debt and decisions that may cause us debt. You don't have to be enslaved to Visa and MasterCard for the rest of your life. You want to know how I know credit card companies don't care about you? I got my first credit card when I was in my 20s. And for the first year or two, my maximum was $2,000. And I'd make some purchases, buy some candy, some food here and there, nothing big because I didn't have much money. And I'd pay off my monthly credit card statement every single month. That credit card company, after a year or two, what did they do? We're not making any money off this guy. Let's ramp up his maximum. And all of a sudden, my maximum went from $2,000 to $20,000 on a credit card. What am I going to spend $20,000 in a month on? But that's what they want. They want us to spend outside of what we can actually pay off because that's how they make a profit. You don't have to be enslaved to Visa or MasterCard for the rest of your life. Ecclesiastes 5:10 says this: "He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This also is vanity." This word vanity is worthless. He who loves wealth with his income, this also is worthless. And sometimes we get this thought process where, you don't get it, Adam. If I just had this, if I just had this brand of shoes, I'd be happy. If I just had this brand of clothes, if I just got this kind of makeup, if I just got this type of camping gear, man, then I'd have real happiness. Spending in pursuit of happiness never results in lasting happiness. It doesn't. Spending in pursuit of happiness never results in lasting happiness. Hebrews 13, verses 5-6 reads like this: "Keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have. For he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So we can confidently say, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me?" Keep your life free from the love of money. Be content with what you have. God is with you. Even when it doesn't feel like it. Even when the income that you have isn't what you think you deserve or what you should have. The Lord is your helper. Do not fear. Ready for your mind to be blown? Yeah, whatever. I haven't had enough coffee. Let's just go. All right. One of the best ways to get out of debt is to start tithing. One of the best ways to get out of debt is to start tithing. And we will unpack this more next week as we discuss giving God our first fruits. giving God our best off the top and not our measly leftovers. We'll unpack that much more, but one of the best ways to get out of debt is to start tithing. And this next slide is one that Pastor Mark P. showed last week of applications that you can be putting into practice over this sermon series. 1, make a budget. 2, start giving regularly. 3, attack debt, meaning pay off as much as you can, as fast as you can. Maybe that means you liquidate and sell things that are worth money that are just sitting in your garage so you can pay off debt. And notice the order of operations. Start giving regularly is above attack debt. It's not pay off your debt, then get around to giving God a little portion of what he's already giving you. This is in a distinct order. Make a budget, start giving regularly, attack debt. We have a class running on Tuesday nights, 6:15, right here in this auditorium, Financial Peace University. If you need help with these things, this is a very practical step for you to walk into. There's unlimited seats in here for people to attend this class. The cost associated with it is $100, but that is a worthwhile investment to get you on the right track when it comes to your finances. Debt isn't a money problem. It's an I want it now problem. I don't want to wait problem. I know better than you, God. I really need this, God. That is a contentment problem. Christian in here, be distinct, be different. We should spend and save in a way that is countercultural. It may look different when you compare yourself to your coworkers. We should spend and save in a way that is countercultural. Be distinct. Be different. I want to close with an illustration that landed in my backyard, literally. And I knew it was going to be used for some sermon at some point in time. And this summer, this is Playa del Painter. This is the beach in my backyard. Every year, we buy one of these inflatable pools for $25 or $30 for our kids to cool off. And this is the closest they get to having lakeshore property. And so 9 a.m. rolls around. It's going to be a hot summer day, but 9 a.m. in August, still kind of cool. And I've got this summer a 4 and a 7-year-old that really want to go in the pool. I said, Dad, you're inflating the pool? Yes. And I go get the garden hose, walk the garden hose up, start putting the water in. What's that water temperature coming out of the garden hose? Woo! It'll give you the willies. It's cold. And what do I tell my small kids? You're going to have to wait. This water's going to be cold. I'm filling it up now at 9 a.m. because by noon or 1, it's going to feel great. But right now, it's not going to feel very good. And I tell my 4-year-old, I tell my 7-year-old, not once, not twice, not 3 times, you can't go in the pool yet. It's not going to be ready. It's not going to feel as good as it will later in the day. What do? Swimsuits on, and they're ready to go. And they jump into the pool right away. What do? Time for you to learn a real life lesson. What happens 15 minutes later? Dad, my legs hurt. Because when you're in cold water, it feels like pins and needles, right? Stabbing you in your skin. Because the water is freezing. Because they couldn't wait. Because they had to have it now. Even though either dad had set something up nice for them that was going to pay off in a great way if they were just able to wait on the timing that I had for them. And how often do we do that in our lives? God, I don't want to wait. God, our Father in heaven, I'm pretty sure I know as much as you, God. I know I need this now. But it's not going to taste as good. It's not going to feel as good if we don't wait for God's timing in our lives. God's word is flashing bright warning lights. Wah, 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 when it comes to materialism and debt. Wah, wah, wah. Do not ignore them and just drive straight past these flashing warning lights. Wah, wah, wah. As you run past these flashing lights that God's word is highlighting about materialism and debt, it will lead into heartbreak, ruin, and pain. Be content with what you have. Keep your life free from the love of money. Let's pray. Father God, this is something in our lives that we need your help with. Oh man, help us to be content. It is incredibly easy to be envious of others, to want more, to feel like what you've given us is not enough. So God, help us to be content. God, help us to live within our means. God, help us to be thankful. It is so easy to forget what you've already given us and what you've already done for us. God, help us to remember what your son Jesus Christ did for us, how he invaded this broken world, left a perfect heaven to come be with us and to willingly walk to the cross to pay for our sins. God, help us to remember that in thankfulness. God, help us to live with contentment. God, help us to endure. Help us to persevere. Lord, we just love you. It is in your son, Jesus Christ's name, that we pray. Amen.